Hello. Hi, friends. So, please shut your eyes for a bit for the chanting of Om. Yeah. For a moment. Won't take too long. So, welcome back. And starting with a quick revision. So what all did we discuss yesterday apart from the methodology? Yeah. Coming to sociology, what all did we discuss yesterday? Brother? Yes? Yes, you turning your neck. Tell me. Not you, not you. Yes? In orange kurta. And what is sociology? What did we discuss? It is the study of society. All right. And then the Betty, the term sociology was coined by whom? Yes? Yes? Auguste Comte. Very good. In the year, brother? Brother? Only the brother I'm asking. Yes? Yes? 1838. Combining the term, Betty? Yes, Betty? Socius plus logos. Socius means? Ally or companion. Absolutely. Then, और क्या पढ़ा था हमने? हाँ, we study various social groups, which can be of two types. Brother, namely? Primary groups and secondary groups. And brother, what do you mean by primary groups? In red, yes? That is a correct example, but what is a primary group? Very good. Small in size. Personal relationships. Or thoda sa? You're absolutely right. ठीक है, we'll make do with that. That's good enough. Brother, next to him, give me another example of a primary group. Family, he just said. A group of chuddy buddies, close friends. Yeah. Beti. The other types of groups are secondary groups, which are what? No, the Beti next to you. Larger in size. Huh? Wonderful. And Beti next to her. Give me some examples of secondary groups. Sorry? This is your first class. Okay. So that much, this thing we'll grant. If you miss any class, you won't get this thing. There'll be some severe punishment. Okay. You make up for a lost class either by watching it online or seeking inputs from a friend or colleague or whatever. So brother, examples of secondary groups? Yes?
Sir, a corporation of university
university, a big company office, etc. Good. Then we discussed Acha Beti. Yes, in yellow. Yeah, tell me like who gave this classification of primary and secondary groups? Sorry? We did not discuss it, so note it down. C. H. Cooley classified social groups into primary and secondary groups. All right? What else did we discuss apart from this, or did we stop here in the last lecture? We ended the lecture here. Okay. Any doubts from the last lecture? Big or small? Feel very free to ask. Any doubts? Anybody online? Feel very free to ask. Brother? He is asking, is a cricket team, how would you classify a cricket team, primary or secondary? What is the answer to that, brother? Secondary, he says. Do you agree, Beti? Is a cricket team a secondary social group? Does everybody agree with that? What is your this thing then? It has certain characteristics of both primary and secondary groups. So we cannot so neatly classify it as clearly and distinctly a secondary group. It does have primary group type features, right? Like a secondary group, it is purpose driven, but like a primary group, it is small in size. It does have some high emotions running. Okay? So it would be a combo of the two. Any other doubts? Yes? Okay. Any other doubts? Brother? Can a linguistic group be termed as a... It is a social group for sure. Yes? So it is too large to be regarded as a primary group. So it could at best be regarded as a secondary group. Or, basically... It is not the best dimension to classify a linguistic group. There are other ways we can classify social groups as well. Possibly one of them would be better, categorization of a linguistic group. For example, so we don't have any other doubts, right? And another student is asking, are there any other classification of social groups? So yes, there are, as follows. William Graham Sumner has classified social groups into, and the spelling is Sumner, not Summer. Okay? Classified social groups into how many types? 2 types. In groups and, yes, very good, out groups. Now this classification, or whether a group is an in-group or an out-group, depends on the psychological orientation of the individual. If, and I won't be dictating here, if an individual has a strong attachment to a group, a very strong proclivity or inclination towards a group, then that is regarded as his in-group. Look at it this way, as if somebody is really into it. So it is his in-group. It will become clearer with example. When an individual has a strong sense of attachment or inclination towards the other members of a group, it is for that individual, it is an in-group. For example, I belong to a certain caste. I am Baniya Bai caste. Alright? And if I have a strong attachment with other members of the Baniya community, my caste community, then for me, that grouping is an in-group. Are you with me? Likewise, I am a Hindu. Right? If I have a very strong sense of attachment with fellow Hindus, then for me the Hindu community is an in-group. Clear? I'm so many things. I'm a teacher. If I have a strong sense of affinity towards fellow teachers, for me, the teaching community is an in-group. Clear? An out-group, on the other hand, is a social group towards which an individual has a strong sense of hostility, animosity. Are you with me? Aversion, yeah, hatred, if you will. That's a very strong word. Then, for that individual, that grouping is an out-group. Clear? Sorry? I said if an individual has a strong sense of aversion or hostility towards the social group, then for him it is an out-group. Hostility means a sense of or a feeling of bear. Hindi ka bear. No? A kind of a dushmani. Another classification of social groups is as social groups can also be classified as membership groups and, help me, wonderful, non-membership groups. ध्यान से सुनना, बड़ा डिफिकल्ट कॉन्सेप्ट है. Membership groups are those of which an individual is a member of. Non-membership group is a group of which the individual is not a member of. ठीक? Tough? Some things are so elementary, one wonders why do they even exist? Why should such a classification or terminology exist? So, I'm a Hindu. For me, Hindus are a membership group. Muslims and Christians are non-membership groups. I'm a Baniya Bai caste, so my caste community, Baniyas are my membership group, and other castes, Brahmins and Jats and Gujars and Rajputs are non-membership groups. Right? Clear? Simple? Now you tell me, are membership groups and in-groups the same? And follow-up would be, are out groups and non-membership groups the same? Yes or no? Sure. Why do you say that? Give me an example. Can have? So, what are you saying? Okay, so, yes? Yes. Okay, or let us take it this way. For me, my family is a which group? Membership group. If I have a strong attachment to my family, it's also my in-group. For you, my family is a non-membership group. You are not a part of my family or not a member of my family. So for you, it is a non-membership group. Is it an out-group? You don't need to necessarily hate us, right? So it is a non-membership group for you, but it's not an out-group, right? And are membership groups and in-groups the same? So we have established non-membership groups and out-groups need not be the same. But are membership groups and in-groups the same? Why do you say that? I mean, if you can you substantiate that with an example? Yeah, do? Do.
For example, if I work in my company, I'm in the in-group, I may not care about anyone who is working with me.
So in that case, it is your which group?
Sir, membership group is my membership group.
Correct. Not your in-group. Absolutely. So if you're working in an organization, you are a member of it. So it is your membership group. But it may not be your in-group. You may not have very strong sense of attachment or inclination in that grouping. Yes or no? Very good example. Or I may be a Hindu, so it is my membership group. But I may not have a very strong sense of attachment with fellow Hindus. I'm just a Hindu on the side. In that case, it is not an in-group for me. Okay? Clear, na? If I'm a Hindu, Muslims are, for me, a non-membership group. Are they an out group? Not necessarily. So in ordinary times, I may see them simply as a non-membership group. But say in a communally charged situation, if there's a communal riot in the city, members of one community may start perceiving other religious communities as an out group. Or simply as an enemy group, if you will. Yeah? Clear? So that is that. They are not overlapping, or they are not, should I say, same concepts. Yeah? So that is, these are different ways in which we can classify social groups. So in sociology, what do we study? Various types of social groups. What we also study, friends, in sociology are social relationships. A question is being asked, who gave this classification of membership and non-membership groups? The answer is, I don't know. Okay? I'm being asked to repeat the definition of membership and non-membership group, so here it goes. A membership group is one of which an individual is a member of. A non-membership group is one of which the individual is not a member of. Where were we? Yeah, in sociology we study various social groups. We also study social relationships. Yes. They're not the same. Both primary groups and secondary groups are membership groups. So the term membership group and the term secondary group are not same. Are you with me? But yeah, secondary groups and primary groups both are membership groups. Yes. Absolutely correct. that you acknowledge that you are a part of it, and others also see you, other members of the group also see you as a part of it. Right? So you may like or not like your family members, but you are a part of that family. You know, your family members see you as a part of that family, you also see yourself a part of that family. Chaliye. We also study various social relationships. Please, can you please raise your hand so that I can see? अच्छा, ठीक है, दिख गए आप. हाँ. Examples of outgroups. See, these concepts of in-groups and out-groups are in the context of the individual's psychological makeup or orientation towards a particular group. An out-group is one which the individual has a sense of hostility towards. So, like I said, in a communally charged situation, members of one religious community may perceive the members of another or the adversary religious community as an outgroup. During caste-based protests, members of a particular caste or community may perceive those who are opposing, say, those demanding reservation may see those opposing reservation as an outgroup, and vice versa. Okay, if for an Indian soldier, the Indian army is an membership group. It is also his in-group if he has a strong sense of attachment to or belonging to the Indian army. And for him, the Pakistani army or the Chinese army would be a out-group more often than not. Right? Whom you see as hostile. Is that clear? Beti? Yeah. Chaliye. So we also study social relationships. What kind of relationships do we study? Tell me. Are any of you in any kind of a social relationship? Or is that too personal a question to ask? Huh? Are you thinking, it doesn't behove a teacher to be getting into these things? Any of you in any sort of a social relationship? All of us are, yeah? All of us are. What kind of relationships do you have? Yes? The teacher-student relationship is one. Absolutely. Or student-student relationship. तो क्या है वो? Friendship. Okay. The parent-child relationship or teacher-student relationship, sibling relationship. Don't murmur, na? Raise your hand and speak a little louder and clearer. Do you have a relationship with the rickshaw wala? No, really. Do we? That's a very legit point. Reason being, now these are transient, transactional interactions, right? With the shopkeeper and the rickshaw puller, the street vendor. Are these social relationships? Or not? इस रिश्ते को हम क्या नाम दें? हाँ? बताइए, ये रिश्ता क्या कहलाता है? हाँ? इमोशनल? हाँ? अवॉइड? हाँ जी. It is a buyer-seller relationship. Yes or no? It is a client-service provider relationship. So a relationship need not be very long-lasting. What we learn from these examples is relationship need not be lifelong or months long or days long. Yes or no? But it is a relationship nonetheless. Why does the shopkeeper exist? What is the reason for his existence or his identity as a shopkeeper? Is to serve that nameless, faceless customer. Yes or no? उसकी रोजी रोटी, उसका घर परिवार, उसकी पूरा वजूद as a shopkeeper is thanks to that nameless, faceless customer. So relationships may be seemingly transient and transactional, but they are social relationships nonetheless. So we study all sorts of social relationships, more permanent or semi-permanent ones like the parent-child or the husband-wife relationship. द टीचर टॉट रिलेशनशिप, द बायर सेलर रिलेशनशिप. और कौन से रिश्ते हैं हमारे, बताइए आपके. ब्रदर, द, यूज सिंपल भाषा, नेम द पार्टिसिपेंट्स इन दैट रिलेशनशिप. द रिलेशनशिप between brothers and sisters as countrymen. Okay, ठीक है. और
Sir, there could be also a relationship between living and non-living thing as well. For example,
living, so the relationship I have with my pen, you are suggesting, let's confine ourselves to human relationships for now. ठीक है. I can have a strong sense of attachment and whatever with my pen or this or that.
actually, non-living thing per se, it could be with a
Doggy.
corporation as well. For example, if I work for a corporation, I could have
अच्छा, ठीक है, ठीक है. लीगल एंटिटीज. हाँ. और ह्यूमन रिलेशनशिप्स, और कौन से रिश्ते हैं आपके जो आपने नहीं मेंशन किए हैं? सॉरी, बॉयफ्रेंड गर्लफ्रेंड रिलेशनशिप और रोमांटिक रिलेशनशिप. ब्रदर, सॉरी, लिव इन रिलेशनशिप. ओके, लिव इन रिलेशनशिप. हाँ, और बताइए. That's fine, but who are the participants? He's saying symbiotic relationship. That's a between humans and trees. No, let's confine ourselves to relationships amongst human beings. हाँ, brother. Employer employee, very important. दुनिया कैसे चलती है ना? और वो कौन देता है जिससे चलती है? Employer देता है, right? So employer employee superior or boss subordinate relationship. Work related, work based relationships. The guru shishya relationship, the dharma gurus and the followers. Sorry, so do you have a relationship with Moody ji? You do or you don't? One sided, huh? It's like so many of your relationships. She doesn't even know I exist. Likewise, Modi ji doesn't know I exist. But I am head over heels. Huh? Is that kind of the way he puts it, one-sided relationship, wherein there is no personal acquaintance? Can that be regarded as a social relationship? Modi ji doesn't know that you or I exist. He doesn't know of us as individuals. So do we share a relationship with Modi ji or not? You bet we do. And it's a very, very important relationship. The relationship between the ruler and the ruled. Yes or no? The voter and the politician. Please appreciate. It is because there is a very clear, a very important social relationship. Modi ji may not know us personally, but our existence greatly affects his conduct. You won't see him doing bhangra from the Red Fort, right? You will see him delivering a very rousing speech from the Red Fort. Why does he behave in the way he does? He is addressing, after all, the nameless, faceless public that we are. He expects something from us. Compliance, votes, adulation, etc. Yes or no? So, long story short, personal acquaintance is not necessary for a social relationship. Are you with me? Okay? So these are the various and many more social relationships that we study in sociology. From parent-child, spousal, sibling relationships, friendships. Do you have a relationship with each other? What's your relationship with her or her? Or the girl sitting 3 rows back? Classmates. Any other more important? Competitors, beta. Competitors हैं आप. Yes or no? So, in the discipline of sociology, we study all these varied kinds of social relationships. Now tell me, there are this whole gamut of social relationships. Tell me. Give me an example. किसको देख के? So, social relationships also, she's saying, if I see a poor person on the road, a poor child on the road, and I develop some sort of empathy or sympathy for that poor soul, does a social relationship exist there as well? The answer is social relationships exist not only between individuals, but also between social groupings or classes. So, there is a relationship between the rich and the poor, the middle class and the poor, the middle class and the upper class. समझ रहे हैं आप? So we study all sorts of social relationships. These pauses are for you to jot down if you are jotting down anything. Okay, that's the sole purpose. Please don't crosstalk. Not under my nose, like here. Now, friends, tell me, now that we study various social relationships, you tell me, are human social relationships arbitrary and each one unique and of its own kind, or are they recurrent and patterned? In other words, or let us take it with an example. We all have or are a part of a parent-child relationship. We all have parents, of which we are the children of. So let us say one individual in this class, she has a certain kind of a relationship with her parents. He has a relationship with his parents, he has with his parents, I have with my parents, she has with her parents, and so on and so forth. There are many instances of parent-child relationship in this classroom. Is each of these relationships unique and one of its kind, or are there some important commonalities, some patterns that we can identify across these large number of social relationships in a given society? What is your sense intuitively? क्या इनकी parent-child relationship इनकी parent-child relationship से एकदम अलग है और इनकी एक third kind की है, इनकी एक fourth kind की है, इनकी एक 10th kind की है, या फिर there is something common in the relationships of all these children with their respective parents? Beti? Some characteristics in these relationships are same. So let us say your relationship with your parents. Tell us about that relationship. What is the nature of that relationship? So children have feelings of respect for parents. Now she can't speak for everybody else, but she's speaking for herself. In her parent-child relationship, the child has a feeling of respect for the parents. But is it also a part of other parent-child relationships? Yes or no? Yes. What else is there in your parent-child relationship? Parents have feelings of care, love, etc. They are nurturing towards children. Is that unique to her relationship with her parents, or others have also seen that in their respective relationships? और क्या है बताइए? Parents are selfless. Okay, थोड़ा सा ज़्यादा but Sorry? नौकरी नहीं देते हैं माता पिता, बट ठीक है, दे बेयर द एक्सपेंसेस ऑफ देयर चिल्ड्रन. पेरेंट्स बेयर द एक्सपेंसेस और प्रोवाइड फाइनेंशियल सिक्योरिटी टू द चाइल्ड. इज दैट ओनली इन हर फैमिली और इन अदर फैमिलीज एज वेल? इट इज देयर. हाँ, सबका खर्चा पेरेंट्स उठाते हैं. और children, especially young ones, are dependent on the parents for education, emotional security, physical security, etc. These are all sought by the children and provided for by the parents. Is it happening only in her relationship or in other parent-child relationships as well? Same? In other words, friends, social relationships are recurrent and patterned. They follow a set pattern. They are not each one being unique and of its own kind. Social relationships are recurrent and patterned. Recurrent matlab they reoccur. When we say pattern, matlab they follow a set template of sorts. Are you with me? What we see in one parent-child relationship, we see it manifesting again and again in other instances of parent-child relationships in the same society. ठीक है? Let us now take up another social relationship, the husband-wife relationship. Now you all have witnessed or seen husband-wife relationships of either elder siblings or at the very least your parents. Now in your houses, now these are all different families, different houses, belonging to the same Indian society. Are these relationships, the husband-wife relationship, is that each one of it is unique and one of its kind, or is there a set template or a pattern which is followed in each or almost in each and every one of them, one after the other? Is the husband-wife relationship unique, each one of its kind, or patterned? So what is that pattern? Let us try to decipher or identify. Anybody will like to share the nature of the spousal relationship between their parents? If you will, yeah? Yeah? Forget the wider society. Tell us about the relationship you are witness to. So in her house, it is the father figure who is the main breadwinner and the mother is the homemaker. Is that only in her family or in a lot of other families over here? That the man is the primary breadwinner of the family. घर आदमी के पैसों से चलता है. Is that the case or no? In most families over here. Who is the primary breadwinner in your families, guys? Is it the father or the mother? Father. So that's not unique. What else?
Sir, they complete and coordinate each other. Whether, sir, in household works or in economical conditions, they complete and coordinate each other. Whether the husband earns the bread and wife conditions the home and child. Or if both of them earn money and take complete charge of keeping home and children.
ठीक है, so there's some sort of a division of labor and complementarity in that relationship. Is there also a certain division of labor in other husband-wife relationships that you've seen in your houses? That the husband is doing certain tasks, the wife certain others? और क्या है? Keep it between the husband and the wife. Okay, so both are focused on providing or provisioning for children. Right? Do we see that only in her family or in other families as well? Dhanyavad bhaiya. Yes, Beti? Which is what? They're legally wedded, and they enjoy certain legal rights and obligations as each other's spouse. Absolutely. And all of us would be following under the same or similar set of laws governing the spousal relationship. Yes? So point is, friends, the husband-wife relationship is also quite recurrent and patterned. Right? One thing. Does it mean it is the same? Does it mean every couple has the same equation, the same dynamics, the same level of compatibility or animosity, I dare say? Clearly not. So there may be minor variations. There are bound to be variations. Are you with me? So some couples might get along very well. Others may bicker over the pettiest of issues. But the broad template you would see remains the same. Given the patriarchal nature of the society, in most households it would be that the husband is the breadwinner and the wife is the, entrusted with the domestic chores, child rearing, etc. Right? Likewise, say the teacher-taught relationship. I'm not the first teacher that you have had a teacher-taught relationship with, right? And you are not the first students I am having a teacher-taught relationship with. So in your earlier relations with the teachers, and we are relatively new to each other. We are just getting to know each other. But is there a set pattern? Is there anything common in your relationship with this teacher, which was also there in your relationship with the other teachers or your previous teachers? What? What was that? What was this standard or templated, patterned, recurrent teacher-student relationship? Sorry? Raise your hands and speak. Beti? All right. So the teacher imparts knowledge and the students imbibe knowledge. Beti? Sorry? So it is a relationship of mutual respect. Absolutely. Brother? Teachers try to clarify students' doubts. Brother? In this relationship, teachers tend to be somewhat of an authority figure to the extent that authority is acknowledged. Yes? So teachers also play the role of a guide or a mentor to their students, not just, imparting domain-specific or subject-specific knowledge. Absolutely. And yes? Nominally? Economically, absolutely. So there is an economic dimension to that teacher-taught relationship as well. Clearly. So educational institutions run on the fees paid by the students. What else? Brother? So you were just doing something like this. ठीक है. So that is the nature of the teacher-taught relationship, which is also somewhat templated, patterned, and recurrent. Likewise for so many other relationships. Modi ji is not the first prime minister we've had. Right? But is our relationship with him in certain ways similar to previous prime ministers or leaders? Yes or no? या मोदी जी की बात ही और है? हाँ? होगी बात और. Be that as it may. But there is a pattern for sure which is being followed. So like Modi ji, earlier prime ministers also formulated the rules, the policies, the laws that would, and the citizens would follow. You may be a BJP supporter or a Congress supporter or an Aam Aadmi supporter, whichever. But would you follow the rules laid down by the incumbent government? Whichever it is, you would. Are you with me? You as the voter would exercise your decision during the elections. The politicians, irrespective of the party, would seek your votes or campaign and try to mobilize support amongst the masses. Yes or no? So it is also recurrent and patterned in the sense. A Modi ji may enjoy greater adulation or greater popularity than a Manmohan Singh or this or that. But still there is a broad similar pattern which would be followed. You would pay taxes irrespective of whichever government is there. Yes or no? You would avail facilities and government schemes, etc., irrespective of the party or the PM in power. So, there is a recurrent and pattern relationship between the rulers and the ruled as well. Clear? So, various social relationships are not arbitrary, are not unique in that sense. They follow a set pattern. They are somewhat recurrent, allowing for minor variations. ठीक है? Tell me.
Sir, suppose there is an American. I do have nothing to do with it, emotionally or transactionally. Sir, so do we share a social relationship?
Not necessarily. That's what American society is different from Indian society.
Is it a frame of reference like if I see we do share a same planet, we are a part of the same world, we are using the resource of the same world?
I'll put it this way. With globalization, the world is becoming a smaller place. Or, this phrase we use, it is becoming what we call a global village of sorts. So we are becoming increasingly interconnected with people across the globe, in different parts of the globe. So it is said, for example, that when the Fed chairman sneezes, Fed is like US ka RBI, right? The Indian stock markets catch a cold. Meaning what? That the interest rates set by the US central bank greatly would affect stock prices in the Indian share market. Meaning what? That increasingly people are being affected by the actions and decisions of people in far-off lands. Okay? So, in that sense, we are becoming increasingly interconnected across the globe.
For a relationship, so we do need to have some sort of emotional attachment.
No, not necessarily an emotional attachment. Not necessarily an emotional attachment. Some sort of, should I say, an impact upon each other. Chaliye. So friends, we study all sorts of social relationships which are to a good extent recurrent and patterned. Now, do these social relationships exist in isolation or in groups or in constellation? For example, you have the husband-wife relationship. So this relationship exists in isolation, or are there any other social relationships which also arise out of this relationship or affect this relationship, etc.? Which? Absolutely. So this relationship will give rise to this relationship. Yes or no? Kid 1, kid 2. So out of the husband-wife relationship is born the mother-child relationship, the father-child relationship. And also the relationship between these two, or the sibling relationship. Yes or no? It will also be impacted by his relationship with his mother and father. Yes or no? There will be some dynamics between this lady and this lady. The mother-in-law, daughter-in-law relationship. Are you with me? And all of these relationships, whether it is the husband-wife relationship, the parent-child relationship, the sibling relationship, the daughter-in-law, mother-in-law relationship, etc. They all follow a certain pattern or are somewhat recurrent and repetitive. These recurrent and patterned social relationships give rise to what we call social institutions. So in sociology, we study various social institutions. So these recurrent and patterned relationship of husband, wife, parent, child, sibling, sibling give rise to which social institution? What we call the family. All right? Similarly, the relationship, the recurrent and patterned, the constellation of recurrent and patterned social relationships between teachers and students, teachers and educational administrators, okay, the administrative block or the administrative machinery of an educational institution, teachers and fellow teachers, between students and fellow students. Are you with me? Students and administration. All of these give rise to the social institution of, what do we call it? The education system. Yes or no? Likewise, the recurrent and patterned relationships between voters and politicians, the ruling party and the opposition party. The legislature and the executive give rise to which social institution? The political system. Are these relationships patterned and recurrent? Say the ruler-rule relationship is the relationship between the ruling party and the opposition parties also recurrent and patterned? And what is the nature of that relationship? The ruling party rules, the opposition parties oppose, irrespective of what is done or not done. So they will criticize and oppose various acts of omission and commission of the party in power. Right? The legislators will try to put some sort of checks and balances on the executive. They will also supply personnel to man the top positions in the executive. Yes or no? Ministers कौन होते हैं? MPs ही तो ministers बनते हैं. Likewise, the relationships, the recurrent and patterned relationships between employers and, or say industrialists and factory workers, industry owners and managers, managers and factory workers, worker and worker relationship. Are you with me? A service provider and client relationship, buyer-seller relationship. All these recurrent and patterned social relationships give rise to which social institution? Yeah? The economy. All right? These are the major social institutions. Family, religion, education system, economy, polity, right? Or simply put, these are the different parts of the society. समाज के विभिन्न अंग हैं. All right? So in sociology, we are quite engaged in the study of various social institutions. Clear? According to Ginsburg, please write, according to Ginsburg, social institution refers to recognized and established usages governing relations between individuals and between groups. Were you able to understand what social institutions are? Now read this, it will undo your understanding. Some scholars have that remarkable ability to make things unnecessarily complex. He is one such guy. We'll try to decipher what he's trying to say. Social institutions refer to recognized and established usages governing relations between individuals and between groups. In simpler language, what this means, the word usages is Old English, which means basically the customs, the rules governing interaction between individuals or between groups. The customs, the rules, the social do's and don'ts. Simply. समाज के बताए गए नियम. Simply. ये समाज के निर्धारित नियम. Governing relations. For example, in the teacher-taught relationship, we discussed there are certain rules of the game, if we may call them, right? Which are laid down by the society, which determine or shape our relationship. Same in the parent-child relationship, in the husband-wife relationship and all. Okay? Determining relations between individuals, say husband and wife or teacher and taught, or between groups. Relations exist not only between individuals but also between groups. Like, say, the capitalist or the industry owning class and the working class as a whole. Or Brahmins and Shudras in a caste society. Are you with me? Clear? So that is what we also greatly study in sociology, the various social institutions. Social institutions, simply put, are the different parts of the society. समाज के विभिन्न अंग. All right? In sociology, friends, we also study various social processes. We study various social processes. So what all do we study in sociology? We study various social groups, various social relationships, various social institutions, and various social processes. What does, forget sociology for a bit, what do you understand by processes or process? In English, normal English? That's not the best way to put it, methodology. Huh? Yes? Your part raised hand. You guys are all from science and engineering backgrounds, it seems. You have a very well-defined methodology and a defined manner in which a task, making of something, that's more loose and therefore more apt. How to do a thing? Social processes, the word process simply indicates way of life. Like the Supreme Court said, Hinduism is a way of life or something. Why so rule-based? Yeah. Why should it be so rule-based? Process. Basically the word process indicates that something is happening. Something is going on. कुछ हो रहा है. कुछ घटित हो रहा है. That is simply the meaning of social processes. Something which is underway, happening, simply. It may be very rule-based or maybe, following a certain methodology or whatever fancy scientific terminology we were following. Or it may not be. It may, for that matter, be very arbitrary. But kuch ho raha hai. The word process indicates the occurrence of something. Or something, going on. Right? So tell me, friends, what is going on in our society as we speak? What kind of social processes are underway in our society as we speak? क्या हो रहा है हमारे समाज में? बेटी? Urbanization हो रहा है. Globalization हो रहा है. Yeah. Yes, all, new legislations are being proposed and discussed. So family nuclearization हो रहा है. When we say urbanization हो रहा है, what do we mean? That simply there seems to be a decisive shift in the share of population living in urban areas increasing while a corresponding decline in the proportion of the population living in rural areas. When we say globalization हो रहा है, what do we mean? That the world is becoming more interconnected. Yeah? With every passing day. Thanks to technology, thanks to blurring of borders, so many things. National borders are becoming increasingly less relevant. Geographical distances and barriers are becoming very conquerable. Surmountable. और क्या processes हो रहे हैं? Family nuclearization हो रहा है. So increasingly joint families are under a strain, possibly disintegrating and are being replaced by nuclear households. All these words ending in zation are indicative of a process. Something is going on. और क्या हो रहा है? Migration हो रहा है, absolutely. Sorry? Modernization हो रहा है. What do you mean we are becoming more modern? In technological terms, adopting modern technology. Yes? Brother? Socialization हो रहा है. Okay, that's more at the level, at a micro this thing. We're talking about larger social processes. Increasing conflicts of which kind? Ethnic conflicts, communal conflicts, and the like. Beti? More women joining the workforce, and so on and so forth. ठीक है. So we also are greatly engaged in the study of various social processes such as लिख लो दो चार, urbanization, modernization, westernization, globalization. And etc. ठीक? Some students are using fancy, difficult words like Sanskritization, digitalization, democratization, yes. ठीक है? So in sociology, we study various social groups, social relationships, social institutions, and social processes. According to Sri Auguste Comte, sociology is the study of social statics. According to Comte, sociology is the study of social statics. It is not misspelled, it is not statistics. Many of you end up writing statistics, but it is statics. What does the word statics indicate? Forget sociology in English. Sorry? Something unchanging, a certain constancy, something remaining the same as it was, is what we call static. So, Comte ji seems to be suggesting that sociology is the study of social statics. In other words, how things continue to remain as they are over long periods of time. Yes or no? How things remain as they are, as they have been. But doesn't that sound grossly off the mark? I mean, is society unchanging? Or isn't that what he seems to be suggesting? So was he dumb? The founding father of sociology, did he get it all completely wrong? Brother? Okay, at a broader philosophical level, yes. But, I mean, what I'm asking you is, isn't he wrong in suggesting that in several ways society is not changing? Or do you agree with him, let me put it this way, do you agree with him if he's suggesting that there are certain aspects of our social lives which are continuing for long periods of time? What? What are those statics in our society? Caste. He is saying caste is a static in Indian society. Let us first evaluate, is that right? He's suggesting caste is so unchanging. 2000 years back, Indian society was divided into castes. 21st century, we are still divided into castes. इसीलिए कहते हैं जाति कभी नहीं जाती. That caste has a tendency to stay, to stick. What else is there about our society which is static or which is continuing since a long time, brother?
The very concept of a social institution, social relationship, all the subject matters.
No, I'm asking you which aspect of our social lives is somewhat, continuing since ages. Beti?
Festivals.
Okay, so a lot of festivals that we celebrate, when was the first, Diwali celebrated? We still celebrate Diwali? Possibly in Ramji's time. Yeah? Yes? So, she's suggesting the family is unchanging. Is that correct? She said family. I mean, are you suggesting the family is unchanging?
There are several traditions which are coming in alongside, let's say, westernization. Several things are changing. But the core base, let's say, the feeling of love and care and the respect which is
Okay, love and care associated with family life has been there since long.
intact. There are several characteristics of family are still set.
Such as the feelings of love and affection, they are an integral part of family life since long. What else? The interdependence amongst the members. All right. Brother? Yeah, either of you. छोटी हो या बड़ी हो, है ना, जॉइंट हो या न्यूक्लियर हो, फैमिली एज एन इंस्टीट्यूशन इज इंटैक्ट. Let's be more specific than that, है ना? Which social relations and how they are same as they were is what we are trying to decipher. Beti, don't use difficult concepts which we at present don't understand. ठीक है? We don't use terms like cultural lag. Plain speak. Sorry? Culture remains the same. Constant. Marriage. Concept of marriage is the same, or are we also now on the verge of accepting same-sex marriages? Brother? Education. So is it the same? Is the education system same? Brother? Such as? That women are fit only for domestic chores. Brother? Ethics and values are like eternal, Sanatan. Brother? Patriarchy. So 2000 years back we were a patriarchal society, and also today we are a patriarchal society. Is that correct? Are we a patriarchal society today, 21st century? All you empowered women with a pen in your hand, mightier than sword. Are we a patriarchal society? So it is quite remarkable really how 5 generations back, 10 generations back, we were patriarchal, simply means male-dominated society. Yeah. So how 5, 10, 15 generations back, we were a patriarchal or male-dominated society, and even today, we are a male-dominated society. So a lot of things about society, friends, be it the caste system, be it patriarchy, so many of the things that we mentioned or discussed here, be it our festivals, they exhibit a remarkable continuity over long, long periods of time. That is why Comte, as the founding father of the discipline, was quite interested in studying how this continuity is maintained. And how really is it maintained? Why is it, or how is it, friends? We live in very different times. Say 5 generations back, or 200-300 years back. But back then we were patriarchal. So my great-great-great-grandfather was bossing over my great-great-great-grandmother. Then my great-great-grandfather was also bossing over my great-great-grandmother, my great-grandfather over my great-grandmother, and my grandfather over my grandmother. My father enjoys a certain authority over my mother, and I rule over my wife. Yes or no? So, how is it? So many things have changed. But how is it that this remarkable continuity has been maintained? There are 2 mechanisms through which a certain continuity is maintained in a society over time. The society ensures continuity through 2 main mechanisms. One being socialization, through the process of socialization. We are trying to appreciate how continuity is maintained in society over long periods of time. The first mechanism for that is socialization. Socialization means what? Simply, the newer generation is taught the ways of the society by a previous generation. So every subsequent generation imbibed patriarchal values, patriarchal mindsets, patriarchal structures, patriarchal practices from the previous generation. Yes or no? So in our childhood, during our growing up years, for instance, we have seen that in our household, it is the father figure who is the primary breadwinner. And the domestic chores, raising of children, etc., are primarily the responsibility of the female. Yes or no? Or the mother figure. Both boys and girls are raised thus. Are you with me? So मेरे परदादाजी से मेरे परदादाजी ने सीखा, उनसे मेरे दादाजी ने सीखा, उनसे मेरे पिताजी से सीखा, उनसे मैंने सीख लिया. The custom of dowry going on since ages. Yes or no? So we learnt it through the ages. Male child preference. So many aspects of patriarchy. That is why society was patriarchal 2000 years back, 500 years back, and is patriarchal today. Clear? But unlike our grandparents and great-great-grandparents, we are quite educated, aware, connected, liberated kind of souls. Yes or no? For instance, all of us in today's day and age have been exposed to the feminist ideology, feminist slogans and campaigns, etc. So why don't we simply dump this very blatantly, clearly unfair and unjust social arrangement of patriarchy? Yes or no? Why don't we confine it to the dustbin of human history? Say to hell with it, and now onwards, at least my generation onwards, men will not dominate over women. It is blatantly unfair. It is unjust. And gender relations will be characterized by equality. Or women dominating over men, if you'll have it that way. Shall we? More importantly, can we? In a patriarchal society, say, now I am this enlightened soul, okay, having read a lot of feminist literature. I actually have read a lot of feminist literature. So tomorrow I decide that I will become a house husband and my wife will play the role of the primary breadwinner of the family. Yes or no? In my feminist zeal, me and my wife decide upon this arrangement. What do you make of it? सही है या नहीं है? Can we do that? Can we do that? सोसाइटी सर आपको छोड़ेगी नहीं, ताने मार मार के काम करने जरूर भेजेगी. हाँ? Absolutely, friends. That brings us to the second mechanism through which society ensures continuity, which is through social control mechanisms. See, socialization simply means what? That society has taught you. And it's not just the family. Various social institutions play a role in your socialization. The family has taught you patriarchal values and mindsets. You've seen patriarchy at work in your own household. Yes or no? With your dad being the primary breadwinner, the main decision maker, and the authority figure around the house. But then it's not just the family. Other agencies of socialization. So, religion, for instance, may also impart patriarchal values and mindsets. Yes or no? Mass media may also promote, encourage, inculcate a patriarchal worldview. Yes or no? How is the male lead in popular cinema, movies, etc. portrayed? हीरो कैसा होता है? स्ट्रांग होता है, अग्रेसिव होता है, डिशुम करता है, वही हीरो होता है. He is assertive, he is aggressive, he is dominating, he is a go-getter. And how is the female lead in the movies? Heroine कैसी होती है? Sorry? बचाओ. Yes, so she is vulnerable, she is delicate, she is needing protection. Yes or no? She is chui-mui. She is all of that. She is vulnerable. Yes or no? So these also kind of engender or promote a patriarchal mindset. That men are the protection givers, providers, and women are dependent, women are weak. Are you with me? So through various agencies of socialization, we internalize. हम सीख जाते हैं समाज के तौर तरीके. So if the society is patriarchal, we imbibe, we learn, we internalize patriarchal norms, patriarchal values, patriarchal mindsets. Clear? And if one enlightened soul decides not to adhere to the societal patterns, then social control mechanisms. So try be a house husband and you will be subjected to ridicule, mocking. Yes or no? By the society. तो 2 दिन रह लोगे घर पे, 5 दिन रह लोगे, 6ठे दिन अपने आप भाग के काम पे आ जाओगे. Yes or no? आधे मर्द इसी चक्कर में काम करते हैं. ठीक है. So, through the twin mechanisms of socialization and social control, society ensures continuity. The pauses are for you to write whatever has been discussed by yourself. Now tell me, friends, shall we continue? If you're done writing? If we say that there is continuity in society, does it mean that the society of today is the same as the society of 5 generations back or 100 or 1,000 years back? Yes or no? Clearly, no. There is continuity in many facets of our social lives. But no society is completely static. No society ever is unchanging. Please appreciate. In other words, while there is a continuity in many aspects of our social lives, it is also equally characterized by changes in several aspects. So Comte said that sociology is the study of social statics and social dynamics. Sociology is the study of social statics and social dynamics. Meaning what? We study both how things in society remain same and how things are changing. Both are simultaneously happening in society. There are many things which remain, which continue as they are, while there are also several important changes taking place in society. Yes or no? For example, we were patriarchal 5 and 10 generations back, and we are patriarchal today. In the husband-wife relationship, during great-great-grandfather, he dominated over the great-great-grandmother. And I also, dominate over my spouse. But is the nature of my relationship with my wife the same as my great-great-grandfather's relationship with his wife? Clearly not. Much water has passed under the bridge. बहुत बदल गया है. क्या बदल गया है? For instance, my even my grandmother, I've seen her alive for sure. She used to do ghungat. Or cover her face so that, male members outside of the family do not see her face. Not that she was very pretty. It's just that it was so the custom. In my mother's generation, they stopped doing ghungat. My mother and her compatriots, they stopped doing ghungat. Okay? By the time of my generation, women, including daughters-in-law, had started wearing Western clothing. So a lot of changes are taking place in terms of patriarchal controls over women's bodies, their dressing sense. Yes or no? In my grandmother's time, the women folk were not educated. My wife is highly educated. Are you with me? So there is a clear perceptible difference there. And with education comes some element of empowerment as well, of greater awareness, greater, you have more women-friendly or women-supporting laws today than in my grandmother's times. You have a much more visible, much more in-your-face feminist movement than there was in my grandmother's times. Right? My grandmother would eat her meals after my grandfather in his jhuti thali. Yes or no? She would stand by him while he was eating. Ki kya la दूं, कुछ चाहिए क्या? She wouldn't even sit because वो खा रहे हैं. And now, my wife eats before me in a thali of her own. Yes or no? So times have greatly changed. That is not to say that society today is not patriarchal. It still is. But the nature of patriarchy, its manifestations, its expression, its degree, its nature has undergone changes. Are you with me? So while we continue to remain a male-dominated society, there are important changes that have taken place within, say, 3-4 generations in the position of women in Indian society. ठीक? इसीलिए श्री कॉम्टे कहते हैं that sociology is the study of social statics and social dynamics. Let us end this part of our discussion, not the day's lecture, this part of the discussion with some standard and easy to remember definitions of sociology. According to Sri Auguste Comte. Sociology is the science of social phenomena. ठीक? For Durkheim, he is another one of the early sociologists, one of the founding fathers, as it were. Sociology is the science of social institutions. According to Ogburn and Nimkoff, they are later scholars, of course, not amongst the founding fathers. According to Ogburn and Nimkoff, sociology is the scientific study of social life. All these definitions are very simple, very easy to remember. Take your pick. Remember any one or two. You can use it in a proper context. Say you get a question. A lot of places it can be used. Compare sociology and anthropology or this or that. You can say sociology according to XYZ is so and so. Anthropology, on the other hand, is so and so. Okay? Many other places we should have handy a couple of definitions of the subject. With that, we take a well-deserved break. Say officially 5 minutes. It may stretch longer. Hello? Yeah. So let us continue. And let us move on to discussing the nature of the discipline of sociology. किस टाइप का सब्जेक्ट है जो हम पढ़ने जा रहे हैं? We've already discussed what is sociology in a very basic, rudimentary fashion. We've discussed what is the scope or the subject matter, what all we deal with. We deal with, quickly, social groups, social relationships, social institutions, and social processes. Or as Comte would put it, sociology is the study of social statics and social dynamics. Meaning what, brother? How things are continuing in society and how things are changing. Both. ठीक है. Now moving on to discussing the nature of the discipline of sociology. कैसा subject है ये? क्या बात करता है? Let us try to appreciate. कैसा subject है बच्चों? बढ़िया है. So, okay, let's begin with this thing. I pose you a question and you will tell me, does society, whatever we make of it, whatever we understand from this term, exist? Is it exclusively a human institution or arrangement, or does society exist even amongst other, or shall we say lower animals? Is there something called a lion samaj, or or is it a uniquely human entity? Is society a human entity exclusively, or do societies exist in other species as well? What is your sense? Roughly about, you've lived in human societies and I'm sure you have some knowledge of the animal kingdom. So what's your sense? Do other species have something like a society? What about them is like, society-ish? Tell me. Raise your hands and speak. Beti? That is a human classification, no. What you are suggesting, if I understand what you're saying correctly, that's a human job. We say animals are whatever, living creatures are reptiles and mammals and birds, and then we say birds are of this type and that type. Okay, very interesting. So do animals have families like human beings do? Do they have like a spouse or a partner? Of course, they don't breed in isolation. So they definitely have a mating partner. But is that mating partner in animals something like a pati-patni wala rishta? Is what we are trying to understand. They do have offspring for sure. But is the relationship between the lioness and the cubs in any ways similar to, or any ways, comparable to the human mother-child relationship? Or animals are, just out there in nature and we are kind of conditioned by society? Beti? Sorry? So she is saying it's not uniquely a human phenomena. Mothers nurturing and rearing little ones. Even whether it is lionesses or cats or dogs, across species, in fact, we see this, what we may call mothering. Rearing kittens, unko breastfeed karna, to teach them the basic skills. So many of these things. Yes? In animals. He is saying, very interesting, social relationships, even in the animal kingdom, not only they exist, but they are recurrent in pattern. Throw some light on that. So, like in human societies where, the men are the aggressive, dominating lot, in many animal species also, they are the protectors, they are the whatever, of the group. Very interesting. Okay, so socialization is again not a uniquely human phenomena. Socialization simply meaning the previous generation teaching the new ones. So, across species you would find the mothers or the parents, more often the mothers than the fathers, teaching skills, birds teaching flying and so on and so forth. Brother? Okay, so there's some definitive pattern. It's not arbitrary, is what we are trying to say, Betty.
So they tend to stay in groups too. For example,
Like human beings.
bees hives or herds.
Absolutely.
They are almost all the same.
So many animals, and we've rattled in childhood the different names for these. Lions are in packs, and animals are in, elephants are in herds, and blah blah. So a lot of animals live in groups like human beings do.
Sir, I think most of the time they do all things instinctively, based on the instinct, not on the cognitive process. But there could be some examples of some primates, for example, chimpanzee, which have been committing crimes, actually kidnapping toddlers in Kenya as well.
Human toddlers or chimpanzee toddlers? Human toddlers. Chimpanzees are kidnapping. They must have been trained to do that, I'm presuming, They must have been trained to do that.
No, not trained. Actually, humans have been encroaching on their fault.
Okay, so they are like getting back at us,
They are actually waging a war against humans.
Acha, Planet of the Apes. Very interesting, One of my favorite movies, It's come true. Very interesting. Betty? And they exhibit some sort of what we can in human terms call sorrow or grief. You see animals grieving. Even we've heard of elephants like grieving and after the death of the leader of the whatever. Lot of such. Some animals are even reported to have some sort of burial grounds where they would bury their dead. Animals are eerily human-like in so many ways. Many animals, amongst many species, there is a very clear-cut division of labor. Right? There are leadership positions like amongst the bees. The division of labor and the specialization in ants would put humans to shame. Yes or no? You observe ants, they look like remarkably organized. So having established, friends, that yes, there is some degree of social organization even amongst other animals. Okay, so society is not exclusively a human entity. Some degree, some perhaps less evolved, but some degree or less complex than human social organization, but some sort of social organization also exists among several other species. Now tell me, having established this, does sociology study relationships in the animal kingdom? Or are we concerned only with human relationships? What's your sense? Do we, as an academic community or as a subject, is it our domain to investigate into the relationship between the sher and the sherni, or the cheetah and the cheetah, or the kahua and the kawi? Do relationships in the animal kingdom come within the purview of the discipline of sociology? Or is it out of our purview and we leave it to zoologists, botanists and other it's? Kya hai? What is your sense? They also have some sort of a semblance of a social organization. What do we as a discipline study? What is your sense? Come on. Humans? So likho. The discipline of sociology concerns itself with the study of human societies, human social relationships, human social institutions. So we do not delve into the animal kingdom. Right? Clear? So we are primarily focused on human social institutions, human social relationships. Having said that, does that mean that the goings on in the animal kingdom are none of our concern? हमें कोई मतलब नहीं है शेर और शेरनी के बीच में कितनी लड़ाई हो? Or do we in any way concern ourselves as sociologists with any aspect of the animal kingdom? We do? What aspect, Betty? So, the discipline of sociology. Okay, Betty? Wonderful. So, do we, as sociologists, study the cow? Absolutely. We do engage ourselves with the sacredness of the cow for Hindu Samaj. That is a question worthy of sociological analysis. Are you with me? We are not concerned with the cow's relationship with the, what? The bull. Okay, or the cow and the calf. Okay, or between cows. That's not a concern, but yes, how the sacredness is associated with the cows in the Hindi community would be a matter of sociological investigation. Yes? Like how? You're right, and how? Absolutely. So we consume a lot of meat. Absolutely. And for instance, in recent times, it has engendered a global pandemic. Yeah, the COVID-19 pandemic apparently had zoonotic origins. It was through the consumption of bats or whatever, bat soup, that it entered the human population. So is that of concern to us? Absolutely. It has fundamentally transformed or significantly affected our lives. That would be of great interest to sociology. Since 1960s, friends, there is this growing subfield within sociology of what is termed as environmental sociology. Are you with me? in which we are concerned about man's relationship with animals. We acknowledge, we recognize we do not exist in isolation, but as part of a wider ecosystem. Human beings don't exist in isolation, but as a part of a wider ecosystem. Are you with me? For instance, there is growing man-animal conflict. Yes or no? Like somebody gave the example that humans encroaching upon the forest covers, etc. So animals, like I think it was the case of chimpanzees kidnapping, of all things, human babies, asking ransom also. Give us like 2 kgs of banana and then we'll release a child, possibly. But whatever, there are real instances of, say, tigers, etc., also whose lands have been encroached upon, or there's this in Kerala, an elephant corridor, yeah, through which we have built roads, etc. So that is of interest to sociology. Wherever other species, they impact on human lives, that is of interest to sociology. Whether in the realm of religion, such as the veneration of cows in Hinduism, and similarly in many other cultures, many animals, birds, etc. are considered as sacred. That would be of interest to sociology, or to these, in the sociology of religion. A lot of, in many modern societies, pets, people enjoy very strong bonds with their pets. There have been instances where people have willed their wealth to their pets instead of their human children. Yeah. In fact, nowadays, pet owners prefer to be referred to as, dog parents. It's like demeaning to call them a pet owner. So there's a very strong level of attachment many people have to their pets that they raise. Or say the impact of several diseases or global pandemics like the COVID. How it has impacted. All of these would be areas of legitimate concern and analysis in sociology. Betty?
So new terms like veganism can also be considered?
Yes. So the whole vegan movement, right, that you give up any products arising from animals or using animal derivatives. Absolutely. That would be of great sociological interest. Right? Okay? So while we do focus on human relationships, human groups, human societies, and not concern ourselves with the goings on in the animal kingdom per se, but increasingly we also focus upon the relationship between man and nature, or man and other species. Okay? Wherever we cross paths. Try to paraphrase it and write it in your own way. Even if you have to use colloquial language, examples, if you're unable to, say, frame a coherent sentence in English, write in Hindi or in mix of English and Hindi. But try to develop that ability to, rather than peek in the neighbor's copy, bluntly. That's an important part of the learning process. And just to reiterate, we had discussed that the discipline of sociology primarily focuses on human relationships, human institutions, human groupings, human societies, and not those in the animal kingdom. But to the extent that other species have a relevance for man, whether as food, as sacred or objects of worship, are you with me? Or as a source of disease. We also study that element of the man-animal relationship. ठीक. Shall we proceed? Secondly, again you tell me, what is the nature of this discipline? What is your intuitive sense? Does sociology, is it concerned with studying how society is? Or is it concerned with how society should be or ought to be? Do we concern ourselves with describing the social reality as it exists? Or do we concern ourselves with, charting out a vision for a better, brighter, collective tomorrow? What is the nature of this discipline? जैसा समाज की संरचना, उसका गठन है, हम वो स्टडी करते हैं, या कैसा समाज हमें चाहिए, कैसा होना चाहिए, हम उस पे फोकस करते हैं. What is our primary focus as a discipline? As it is. Is she right there? Is that our primary concern, how society is? Or are we more concerned with how society should be? How society is. That is correct. The discipline of sociology is primarily, लिख लीजिए, it is primarily no, you won't be able to see this, right? The discipline of sociology is primarily descriptive. It is primarily descriptive and not prescriptive. What do we mean by that? It basically describes how things are in the society. Are you with me? It does not prescribe how things should be or ought to be. Who prescribes? Who gives you a prescription? Or doctor gives you a prescription, right? Meaning he suggests what should be done. ये कीजिए, ये खाइए, ये मत खाइए, right? All right, or run this course of medicine. This is what you should be doing for a healthier or a better tomorrow. We in sociology, by and large, are not in the business of prescription or telling how things or society, social arrangements should be. Rather, or largely, we are in the business of describing how things are. So a very detached, cold kind of an objective kind of an analysis from afar, that this is what is happening in society. All right? So that is, the discipline has that kind of a scientific orientation in that sense. Now, having said that, does it mean we as a discipline are completely unconcerned about how the society should be? क्या हमें उससे कोई लेना देना नहीं है कि समाज कैसा होना चाहिए as a discipline? Who studies वैसे primarily how society should be? Which aspect of or which segment of the society? Who decides or who lays down, who chalks out how the society should be? Political leadership, visionaries, statesmen, yes or no? Social reformers, all these guys would engage in the business of how society, or envisioning a better future society. amongst disciplines? Sorry? Critics. Ethics, philosophy, they would be more in the nature of how things should be. Yeah? We are mostly in the business of how things are. Why? What are the causative factors? What are the consequences? Etc. But does it mean we are completely unconcerned with how society should be? The answer is no. There is a small but quite vocal and assertive segment amongst sociologists who contend that what good is a discipline studying society if we are unable to bring about any positive changes in the society. We will be a meaningless theoretical paper knowledge. Are you with me? With no practical application. So we must not only analyze the social world, we must highlight the issues of the marginalized sections of the society. And we must strive to create a better society. Are you with me? For them. So these, what should I call them? This brand of sociologists would also often double up as activists. Are you with me? Reformers. For example, a lot of feminist sociologists, they would argue we need to proactively work towards creating a more gender equal society, not just merely describing the patriarchal nature of our society, but taking proactive steps to raise awareness amongst the masses, to bear pressure on the government to introduce more women-friendly policies, to conduct campaigns for empowering the most disadvantaged amongst women, say lower caste women, say rural women, say uneducated women or poor women. Are you with me? So हमें केवल we have to not merely or only engage in a descriptive accounting of how things stand, but also we must strive to create a better society through activism, policy prescription, and the like. Clear? I repeat, sociology largely is regarded as a descriptive discipline and not a prescriptive discipline, but a small body of rather assertive and very vocal group of sociologists contend, whom we broadly term as critical researchers. Okay, these brand who talk about activism, etc. Critical researchers contend that the discipline must engage in questions of shoulds, or how society should be, how we can create a better tomorrow, particularly for the marginalized sections of the society. Whether it is feminist sociologists or in Indian society, a lot of Dalit sociologists, they say our task is not merely to highlight or, describe the nature of caste oppression in India, but also take proactive steps to create a less exploitative society. Proactive steps to end casteism, or to mitigate the suffering of the lower castes. ठीक है? Yes? Yes. So, for those who can't hear, his question is that we generally regard sociology as a very unbiased and detached, distant, objective analysis of the social world. But these guys, they would be, and he's kind of hesitant to use the word, but he's saying they would be biased, even if in the favor of the disprivileged sections. But there is a bias in their thinking, etc. So you are right. And they do not subscribe to this notion of objectivity. They say the discipline should not be objective. We should speak up for the disadvantaged sections. We should write and analyze society from the perspective of the marginalized and the oppressed. What good or what great is there in objectivity or value neutrality? Are you with me? We should be in favor of, according to these critical researchers, we should analyze the society from the perspective of women, from the perspective of Dalits, from the perspective of religious minorities or ethnic minorities. Theek? So they do not subscribe to this whole notion of objectivity. Simply. Objectivity means that the researcher's own prejudices or his personal biases do not affect the research. That is what objectivity means. See, I am a grown-up man. Whoever undertakes research is a grown-up man. By the time you grow up, you have certain opinions on various things. Right? You have a social background which influences your viewpoint. I have a certain viewpoint. But while conducting research, my viewpoint, my thoughts, my biases should not color my research. That is objectivity. And we'll be discussing this notion of objectivity at length when we discuss, whether sociology is science or not. Moving on. So what we last wrote is, it is largely descriptive and not prescriptive, though there's a different strand as well. Thirdly, as a discipline, friends, you tell me, again you will tell me, does sociology focus on collectivities or social groups and aggregates, or does it focus on individual? Don't give me clever answers like both. Pick one. Yeah? Does it focus on groups and aggregates, or it focuses on the individual? Sociology. Groups and aggregates. Even if at the cost of the individual. तो लिख लो. The discipline of sociology focuses its attention on the analysis of social groups or collectivities, aggregates, rather than the individual. So we are not concerned with his relationship with his father and her relationship with her father. Are you with me? But we are interested as a discipline in the study of, say, the parent-child relationship in Indian society. Or say the parent-child relationship amongst Hindus and the parent-child relationship amongst Sikhs and Muslims and Christians. Are you with me? Not Mr. A and Master A, and so on and so forth. Theek? So, when we say that we are mostly focused on, larger scale phenomena and not individual level phenomena, are we saying that, and which discipline, by the way, before we move to the next aspect, which discipline focuses on individual? Psychology does. So in psychology, we are interested in what is going on in his mind. He is the subject. Are you with me? What are the chemical processes in his brain? What are the neural connections? What are the mental this thing? How was his childhood and this and that? Yeah? So having said that, does that mean in sociology, we completely ignore the individual? Yes or no? Clearly, no. In sociology, see friends, when the discipline emerged in the 19th century, 1838 onwards, the founding fathers were quite clear in their minds that we focus on large-scale phenomena, aggregates, groups, classes, social categories and so on. We do not concern ourselves with individuals. But Weber onwards, Weber writing sometime in the early 20th century. Okay, just to give you a timeline. The individual also started receiving attention in sociological research. So at the time of the emergence of the discipline and nearly throughout the 19th century, we were focused on collectivities. But early 20th century onwards, or in the writings of Weber and onwards, there was also attention paid to analyzing at the level of the individual. Clear? Next point. What is the method of this discipline that we use in our research? What is the method which is used in sociology? Batao, brother. Observation, surveys, analysis, interviews, experiments and data collection. And if you were to give me one word which kind of captures or subsumes all of these things that you've mentioned, which method? The scientific method. So sociology uses the scientific method. Sociology relies upon the use of the scientific method. Now, what do you mean by the scientific method? Not in great detail, but just a peek into what is this scientific method. It is based on empirical evidence. Yes or no? I don't say, or my research is not based on my opinion or my viewpoint. It is based on hard empirical evidence, backing up whatever claims I'm making or conclusions I'm reaching. It may entail conducting experiments, data collection, scientifically and objectively processing that data, all of that. Are you with me? And the founding fathers of the discipline, whether it was Comte, whether it was Durkheim, whether it was Saint Simon, whether it was Herbert Spencer, were all very clear in their minds that sociology is a scientific discipline. So, sociology or sociological research uses the scientific method, which entails all of this. So, does that mean that there is no room for any other methods in sociological research? The answer is no. Absolutely. You've identified the pattern. See, you may not know, but you have identified the pattern. So starting from who? Weber, not Comte. Comte was pure science. Starting from Weber. Other methods, yani non-scientific methods, also began to be used in sociological research. What were these other methods? We learn over time. But methods other than the scientific method also began to be used in, or this view that sociology is a scientific discipline began to be challenged. Weber and onwards. All right? A student is asking, can we consider the growing concern of dog bites under sociology? What's your take? Can we consider growing concern for dog bites under sociology? Yes, you can. So research topics may range from frivolous to profound, right? And why not? That can be a legitimate area of sociological analysis. Yeah.
What about euthanizing of animals? Like if an animal has attacked a human, even when a human has gone into the area?
That would be within the purview of sociology for sure. Yeah. Chaliye, where were we? What's the last thing we've written? Whether sociology uses the scientific method or not. Nextly, friends, and again you guys will tell me, what is our focus in sociology? Do we try to, arrive at generalizations, identify patterns, etc., or do we focus on the study of unique events? What is our focus area? Sorry? Patterns and generalizations rather than focusing on unique events. Absolutely. And which discipline takes a keen interest in the study of unique events? Very good. It is history. Yes or no? So Battle of Plassey mein kya hua tha? Battle of Panipat the third mein kya hua tha? These were the parties, these were the factors, why this guy won over that, and so on and so forth. History takes a keen interest in analyzing unique events, plucking out some important dates or defining moments in human history and then analyzing them threadbare. Sociology is far more interested in identifying patterns, discovering laws, arriving at generalizations governing social life. For example, many of the early sociologists were very interested in discovering or identifying the laws of social evolution. How the society transforms from one type to another over a period of time. Laws of social evolution. We will be studying about social evolution later on at greater length, but just to give you a glimpse, for instance, Comte, he identified 3 stages through which society passes: theological, metaphysical, and scientific stage. We'll discuss that later. You need not necessarily write down in detail. Likewise, a very popular schema or this framework of historical stages through which human society passes was outlined by Karl Marx. How society evolves from primitive communism through ancient slave society, through feudal society to industrial capitalist society, and finally culminating in the establishment of communist society. Communal nahi, communist society. Communal society to hamari hai. Okay? Lewis Henry Morgan, he also, identified how society transforms from the stage of savagery to barbarism to civilization. Many people, many of these sociologists did. Herbert Spencer did. Many of them did. ठीक है? So does that mean blah blah blah? Huh? That we are completely unconcerned about unique events? We don't bother at all? What is the answer? No. Absolutely. And starting from Weber. Absolutely. You don't know the guy, but you kind of know him now. Yeah? He's some sort of a, sociology does take a new turn in many ways, starting from Weber's writings. So starting from Weber, including very explicitly in his own writings, there is a concern about, or there is adequate attention paid to unique historical events. And not necessarily the events of his own times. He was writing in the 20th century, but he, for instance, analyzed the birth of capitalism many centuries earlier. Okay? Much like what a historian would do. Clear? So we mostly focus on arriving at generalizations or identifying laws, but Weber onwards, there is that other tendency as well. Finally, मुस्कुरा दो इसी बात पे. Finally, friends, you tell me what is the nature of the discipline of sociology. Do we study or consider social institutions in isolation, as if in a vacuum, or we consider them as interconnected and interdependent with other social institutions? पढ़ाना ही क्या है? सब तो आता है. Yes or no? You're absolutely right. In sociology, we consider various social institutions as interconnected and interdependent, rather than seeing them in isolation or in a vacuum. So we focus on the interconnections, the interdependence between social institutions, rather than seeing them in silos, in compartments, or in isolation. ठीक? लिख तो लिया जल्दबाजी में, but अब समझा दो मुझे. Why do you say that social institutions are interconnected, interdependent? Or more specifically, brother? What's family got to do, say, with the political system or education or economy or religion? Marriage is integral to family. Marriage, we don't really look them as separate. Marriage and family are like two sides of the same coin. But if you could throw light on the relationship or the dependence, the connection between family and, say, religion. How is family impacted by religion? Aren't they two completely separate things? Or how a family is affected by the political system, the economy, the education system, any of it. It is very apparent. Of course it is. Brother? Okay, so religions, nearly all religions lay down certain rules governing the relationship between husband and wife. Yes or no? Or regarding even other matters like custody of children. Right? So many aspects regarding transfer of or succession and property. Lot of such rules are determined by religion. Beti? You're drawing a parallel between the political system and the family rather than expressing their linkage. The political system, for instance, one could argue, frames the rules, the laws which impact family life. The political system has, for example, framed laws against domestic violence or, against dowry, against sati pratha, in favor of, say, women inheriting property. So many things. All of that would affect family. Beti? How does the economy connected to the family? Absolutely. So the condition of the economy would have a bearing on the standard of living of a family. Yes or no? So all of it is interconnected. Education would impact family life. For instance, more educated women typically tend to reproduce fewer children, have a lower fertility rate. Yes or no? पढ़ी लिखी औरतें कम बच्चे जन्मती हैं, अनपढ़ औरतें ज़्यादा बच्चे जन्मती हैं. So the fertility behavior of a couple is greatly affected by the level of education of the members of the family, particularly women. Beti? Absolutely. It will also influence practices like female feticide. So we get it that basically different social institutions are interconnected and interdependent, and as sociologists, we don't see social institutions in isolation, but rather in that, embeddedness in the wider society, how they are connected to the other social institutions. बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद. ठीक है? So that is about the nature of the discipline of sociology. Is hostility necessary for outgroupism? The answer is yes. Divya?